Warning, the following content is not advisable for 2017 ICO cooks.
What's there to say about Drivechain? It's an interesting. It's not a very complicated idea, I think, in my opinion. Some people think otherwise, but I do think that, as far as bang for your buck, so to speak, we have a lot of these problems that people seem to really care about. Not least of which, as you mentioned, Andreas, the sheer distraction. And it's so annoying when you go to people and you say, Bitcoin is the future. And then they're like, but which crypto should I buy? Should I buy a second crypto? They're like, hey, I'm thinking about diversifying to Ethereum. You hear that a lot. And then it's kind of like, we don't have a unified front. We don't even have a good, as a community, even speaking broadly to include the crypto community, we don't have like a good story anymore. We have a very confusing story where a lot of people are going to slug it out and possibly one will win, or they'll just all kill each other. And it's very annoying. And I think you have to be really blind not to see is Lightning, the people who know the Lightning Network very well, people who work on it, I think they don't consider it to be the scaling solution. It's almost inverted. They think, I think it's great, and they think it's great, and obviously everyone, you wouldn't work on it if you didn't think it was awesome. But I think people work on Lightning, they realize that it has to be just part of a big set of lots of different things. And so I think the idea of having a large block sidechain is one of those things. You just have one chain that has a large block size, and there it's much more difficult to run a node, and you have to just weigh that trade-off the same way you'd weigh anything else. You say, well, running a node is annoying. I don't know. I'd rather have my money be on the most secure, most conservative chain, and that's totally rational. But some people, how do you onboarding people onto Lightning and opening the channels and rebalancing them? The Lightning Network works much better on a chain where there's no danger of the exits being clogged. So, but it's unfortunate you can't talk about any of these things without it immediately being pigeonholed into one political party or another. If you criticize Lightning at all, it's immediately pigeonholed as you being a hater of Lightning and a hater of Core. It's like super dumb. And then if you try to talk about the merits of large blocks, it's sort of the same thing. And if you try to talk about node costs, it's like, then you're anti-large block, it's all baffling, but this is the limit to people's complexity at this point.
And now that we have all of these different forks, it used to be that if you talked about the block size, then you had chosen a side, so you would inevitably have enemies. But now it's worse, because if you now talk about the block size, you're like, wait a minute, are you trying to fuck up my life savings and my career? Like, what's your problem?
Yeah, it is. Some things have gotten better, question mark, but there's things have gotten much worse in the sense that I remember once Greg Maxwell complained that there was no money available for Bitcoin development, and that one of the reasons he started Blockstream was to make sure that projects could get funding or something. But in a way, that solving that problem has given birth to a new problem, which is that people are making a career out of agreeing with people that have money. And it has now become very depressing.
So, but I guess sidechain can solve a lot of these problems, right? So I guess
it solves governance as well as, because the scaling problem, the scaling debate, it's not really a scaling debate at all. It's really a governance debate. It's a totally separate question of how do we write a piece of software that handles a lot of transactions per second. That is really a completely separate problem from people disagree over what the block size should be, and we don't know how to resolve the dispute. And we don't know what to do about do you hard fork? Do you start a competitor? Do you do something else? Do you start an altcoin? Do you give up? Like people have tried all kinds of strategies. They tried giving up and working for the banks, tried hard forking, they tried not hard forking, they tried compromise, they tried like holding conferences. So it's really a governance issue. And one way to solve that problem is to just give people a new option and say, well, okay, I will, if you want a large block version of Bitcoin, then just write it and make it a side chain. And then you can use it over there and it won't affect me. And I can stay over here and it won't affect you. And you can get the benefits and the costs of doing that over there. So it does sidestep a lot of the problems that we have today.
What's coming up for Drivechain? So just to give everyone a heads up, the Telegram group is pretty active, and I'm sure there's a lot of other touch points as well. But yeah, what's coming up, and how far along is it, and what can we expect?
We have a test net, and we have 2 test side chains. So we have one that's just totally blank. It's basically Bitcoin Core. Again, the testnet is Bitcoin Core, but with sidechain functionality added. So we have a cool little tab. And then the first sidechain is just basically that, but the sidechain version. So there's nothing interesting happens there. And the second test sidechain is basically the large block sidechain. It has blocks that are bigger. So we have a cool testnet where you can kind of play around with everything. The Telegram group is DC Insiders. What's coming up is we have version 13, a very unlucky number, but a good release, I think it will be. We've gone through a couple of different versions, and the next one, it should be possible for you to add and replace sidechains without anyone editing any code. So it should be kind of fully automated. So there's quite a few little challenges in there. And it has taken longer than expected, but it is almost finished. And the software kind of works, I dare say. The version that works is sped up so that it's much easier to use. But it's great for testing, and you can check it out. And that's what's coming up. I'm not sure exactly, we're still just iterating and making the software the best that it can be. And then after that, it will be interesting to see if these changes are allowed to be merged into Bitcoin Core. I don't know if they will, despite the fact that it's a completely optional system, and as a soft fork, you wouldn't necessarily even need to run the latest version of Bitcoin Core at all. You could just ignore Drivechain completely, or you could run a version that had it all commented out, and it would still reach consensus with the network. So I don't know if it will be merged into Bitcoin Core, but I guess we'll have to find out.
So the question is always when mainnet?
Yes. I don't know when mainnet. I don't know. Maybe I think if it's not merged into Bitcoin Core, then it would have to be its own chain, and then we'd have to give people some notice, because I have many problems with all the other hard forks and how they were launched. I just think they made a lot of mistakes. Well, one mistake is not announcing it well in advance. I want to at least give people 2 months. 2 months with the website being there and the testnet working and everything, so everyone can just kind of look at it and say, oh, this is what this is. Do I like it or not? But then if it's a hard fork, we have to talk about we can maybe not talk about it now, but that inevitably brings up the conversations of GARP and IMEX. But we'll talk about that later, I guess.
But I think one of the most important things, a lot of people wonder, what do they have to do to be on Team Drivechain? If you want to be on Team Ethereum, you buy the Ethereum token. But if you want to be on Team Drivechain, you can test it if you have extra time, or you can just own Bitcoin.
That's true.
So you don't really have to do anything. there's nothing for you to buy here.
Yeah.
There's no token, there's no ICO. So,
And I think that's where the biggest thing comes for non-technical people like myself. That's why it took me so long to wrap my head around it. It's like, what is this project, and how you get so conditioned into like buying things in this space.
Yes.
Everyone tells you you've got to buy this thing. So when there's something that you technically can't buy, but it's a project, that's why it took me so long to kind of work it out.
That is funny.
We were joking before that if we pretend everything was perfectly and Drivechain is merged into Bitcoin Core, then in some sense you're already using Drivechain today.
It's true.
I think on that note we can wrap this one up, and I just urge everyone to head over to drivechain.info to learn more and go down the rabbit hole. Also follow Paul on Twitter at Truthcoin, Andreas at ABRKN, and Merry Christmas from Shitcoin TV. And yeah, I'll put all the links down in the description. I definitely urge you guys to check out the Telegram too. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I'm learning a ton by just literally sitting in that Telegram chat. So I suggest other people do too. It's a great place to learn more about Drivechain. Thanks a lot for your time, guys.